Good morning, potato chips. That's wee Paddy from across the shuck. How are you? Um, this is an exciting video for me. You can see by the box, it's another Heinnie Haynes exclusive, and this is a knife they designed. They actually took it to SHOT Show last year and got rave reviews. But this is a knife they designed. They've had manufactured for them, so nobody else sells this knife. Only Heinnie Haynes. Now, it comes in, when Heinnie do a special like that, it comes in a lovely one of these watertight. I'm not sure how watertight it is. I wouldn't say it's completely, but I don't know. It's a lovely box, lovely corrugated foam inside the box to carry your knife. And this to me is just a little bit extra. I'm going to tell you the price straight away, which is maybe a bit unusual, but I think it's relevant. This knife costs £89.99, which is a lot of money. But in comparison to other knives of the same ilk, it is very, very reasonable. So let's get that out of the way now. This knife was given to me by Heinnie Haynes, and I'm going to give it an honest review, but I'm going to back that up with some information I think will just stand by its qualities. I love this knife. There's just no getting away from it. I love it. There it is. It's very simple, isn't it? It's the Heinnie Haynes special edition. It's the Penfold, and it's just a penknife. It's a very just understated penknife, but it's a modern penknife. And I'm going to compare it first of all to a traditional penknife, and we'll talk about the reasons why I like modern penknives and traditional, and the two specific uses that I would have for them. So let's get started about this knife. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? This is inset, and this is just beautifully understated milling on the handles, or the covers if you want to call it, but it's handles to me because it's a modern knife. For the OCD in you, it's exactly the same on the other side, which cures an awful lot of problems. Blade centering is absolutely perfect. It's two slabs of titanium that have the four corners taken off. It's chamfered all the way round. Small screw heads, I think they're only 6. But look at the back spacer, and this is a proper sprung modern traditional, not one of these. I'm not too keen on these ball bearing ones. I like a good back spring in a penknife, whether modern or traditional. But look at the fit and finish of that there. That is stunning. There's a little lanyard hole which brings it into the modern day, because people like lanyards more and more now. Even I have a few lanyards on knives. To open it, it's a pinch grip, or you have a nail nick there. No nail nick on the other side, the only thing for OCDs, but there's plenty of room there to pinch. Listen to that lock up. Is that not just, that makes you feel confident. This knife came razor sharp, and it still has the factory grind on the edge there. It has been ground lovely, even on both sides, which is a step above a lot of much more expensive knives at the moment. I just don't understand why knife companies wouldn't want an extremely sharp knife. On the blade, you get the Heinnie square and then Penfold. On the other side, you have a blade steel S35VN. It is so sharp, it really is so well done. I've only just got to refine it to make it a slight bit better. Inside it, you've got two slabs. You'll really not see it. You have a kick as such, but you have the little pin in there which stops the blade wrapping off the back of the knife when you close it. It is perfectly clean, shiny, just beautiful. It's just two slabs of titanium with a blade in the center. It has bronze washers, which are very fine, which the tolerance in this knife, you can just see, the tolerance is amazing. Look at that. Tolerance is amazing. To close it, there's no half stop, but it does stop there. Now, it can stop a wee bit further either way, but it does stop there, so it's not going to jam down in your hand, and it doesn't click in to there. And that's a satisfying clunk back into the knife again. So once again, I just want you to hear this. That is just beautiful. Completely flush. at open and closed. And a lovely, they call it a drop point. I would call it a drop point, spear point, something along them knives. But what it is an amazing work knife. You know, it's a penknife, but it's a modern penknife. And that's the comparison that I want to make first of all. It is 2.8 mils across the back, so a substantial blade for a small knife. This knife is about 6¼ inches long, which is about just under 16 centimeters. It has a flat grind, but it's high enough that it gives it a reasonably good edge. It's not super thin, but it's a reasonably good edge for everyday use. And everyday use is something that you're going to use your knife for so many different reasons. So having the modern knife rather than a traditional, sometimes if you know you're going to do a bit more harder work, this is a knife you want to take rather than a very thin. And we'll just show an example. And this is my other favorite work knife. This is the GEC American Jack with carbon steel blade, much thinner stock. Let me just show you the stock thickness. Much thinner stock, much thinner behind the edge, so it has a purpose and a role of its own. This is a brilliant work knife. I put it down beside the Heinnie, and there's not that much difference in size. They're very similar blade lengths. But this is a proper traditional, and this is a proper modern traditional. And there is a difference because a lot of knives are calling them modern traditional, and to me they're just not. This is, in my opinion, a proper modern traditional. These are very thin blades, very thin behind the edge, and they're great slicers and cutters, which is what we tend to do mostly on EDC. But if you want to use something bigger, that's why I carry a bigger knife or a more modern knife as well as a traditional, because I really don't want to put any torque in that blade. It's not meant for that. This can take it, and that's the nice thing. This can take it. It is a nice looking knife, but it's a very simple looking but nicely done. And I think simple is underrated. People call things simply made. This is simply made. You have a spring under tension, you have 2 washers, and you have a blade. That's it. It's simple, but it works incredibly well. There's very little can go wrong with it. And that's what makes a knife dependable in my eyes. Again, these are very simple. Don't even have screws in them. You just have the blade and the knife and a strong back spring. That's it. So the comparisons are there, but this is more delicate. Although it can do anything that I ever have to do, this has been able to do with aplomb. So we'll take that out of the way. What other modern knife would I compare this to? And this is going to be a bit of a shock to the system for people. They're not going to accept it, but here you are. Here's the Small and Cozy, the Chris Reeve Small and Cozy. First of all, let's get through the things that are the same with these two knives without a challenge. They're both titanium. They're both quite solid titanium slabs. You can see that. They're both very similar in their thickness, the titanium slabs. The blade stocks, very, very similar in thickness, although this one's chamfered a bit more than this. The size is very, very akin. They both are around that same size. This is known throughout the world as a work knife, and it is an amazing work knife. It's S35VN. This is S35VN. The tolerances on this are better than most knives. This is pretty close, to be honest. This is pretty close. I'm talking about the gaps. When you look down at a knife and you look at the gaps and what the chances for a wobble, these are both extremely tight, which means you can put a bit of torque on them. And again, these are small knives. You're not going to, prise off a bonnet. But you can put a bit of torque. You can put a bit of hard use on these knives. I believe this one will take it. This, I know, can take it. But this is £350. This is $89.99. And now, this is my favourite knife as a work knife, as a modern knife. It's just an absolute treasure to have, to use. I love it. This, as a penknife, is every bit as good. Is every bit as good. Now, when I'm saying every bit as good, it's good on the materials, the quality of materials, how it's put together. This in my opinion, is a more superior knife, simply because of the manufacturing that goes into it. But as a pocket knife, this stands up. This just stands up. And I know that's going to sound a bit crazy, but it does. It just stands up. For the simple fact that what I've shown you, the tolerances, the way it's put together, everything about it is just good. And good knives come in really simple. Now, I know this one's coloured, but this came, it was just completely grey. It had handholds. This doesn't have handholds. This is a bit of a bigger blade. This is the ZT450. A beautiful, simple knife. Tolerances are quite good. I mean, I've never had any movement in this knife. This is this is a frame lock, but another very modern knife with very simple and easy to use. This is one of the best actions, and it's been out, I don't know, many years, probably near 20. A beautiful knife, much like the Inkosi, the Sebenza. So I'm not saying this is as good as them, but I'm saying this is a bloody good knife. This is top of the range for me as far as modern pocket knives. The one that I'm going to compare it to, which you're probably going to understand why, look at the blade shapes on them two. Look at the blade shapes, how close they are. Now this is what they're calling a sheepsfoot or a modified sheepsfoot. This is a spear, I don't know what you want to call them, but they're very similar. They're very similar. The thicknesses are very similar. Behind the edges are very similar. This I love, and you know I love it. But it had a lot of flaws. Like I had to put a forward choil there so I could get up close to the blade. It was too far away, and it wasn't done particularly well. This I don't need to. This, when I'm up close, when I hold it, all four fingers in this, medium, large hand, all four fingers, happily on there, comfortable, I'm right up at the blade. No need for a choil whatsoever. The other thing about this, it has a back spring that works. It has a back spring that when you open and deploy the knife, you hear it and it gives you a sense of confidence, which I like in all knives. This, not so much. There's next to nothing there. And it isn't particularly secure, which is why I wanted the forward choil, so that if it closed on me, it wasn't going to get me. And that's the reason. But, you know, other than that, the knife was good. Although when it came, because of these two humps here at the end, if you can see here and here, I had to sand these down because I found them uncomfortable when I was using it for heavy use. It's now fine, I can use it because I've had to change it. I don't have to change anything with this. My Carta handle, it's beautiful. It's just a handle choice. But the titanium, much like the Chris Reeve, the ZT, it's a plain knife. The handle doesn't detract from what the working part of this blade is. S35AN, S30. Not much between them two, and it wouldn't make a difference in a day's work for me which one I had. But this is now going to be carried much more, just simply because it doesn't look like it should be. I remember Al saying in his video, it doesn't look like it should be comfortable, but when you close your hand around it, there's no feeling. You have no pocket clip, you have nothing to hinder you holding this knife in a full fist grip, and know you can actually put some pressure on this knife and use it for hard work. If you had to, I'll probably still open my meat packages, I'll probably still open my letters, everything with this, but I know it's there, and that's the joy. That's the joy of having, that's the difference for me between a traditional that I'd be too frightened. I wouldn't want to put much torque in this, whereas that I could give as much torque as I wanted to, and I don't think it would cause it any problem. So there's it slipped in between the two. This is going to be more of a user for me, although I will put it in a little pocket slip when I'm carrying it. I don't want to I've said that I don't do that with my Chris Reeves, so it'll probably not last with this, and it'll just get snail trails. But it hasn't marked up as easily as the Chris Reeves done. It's a different finish in the titanium. This is very smooth, and although my Chris Reeve wasn't completely smooth, it is now after use. Now you're still a wee bit in the back, but the front here is just as smooth as that is. So I hope I haven't over-gushed on it, and I did tell you that I got it for free, so, you know, yes, I support Heinnie Haynes, but if it's not good, or if I don't think it's what I'm looking for. I will tell you that. I think you know that by me now. I highly recommend this. If you've not had one, or if you don't have one, and you fancy a modern traditional pocket knife at a very reasonable price for what I think you're getting, I'd have no doubts promoting this knife. None whatsoever. It is just a stunning piece of kit that I am very glad to have, and I thank Heinnie for it. Don't forget you get 7% discount if you buy through Heinnie, and it's the only place you can get the knife. And if you're from overseas, I know this is a UK friendly knife, but it is just a blooming good knife. Like the Benchmade proper, it's a really good knife. This is the Heinnie Penfold. Absolutely 100% recommend this. I love it. So there you go. Paddy's away for a wee cup of tea. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody. Bye.